Well, the spicy take is boomers are hypocrites. Are you saying Gen Zs are basically swingers, Daniel? Are they just open to everything? That they're just kind of swinging? It doesn't matter. We work together. We sleep together. We just.
How else are you going to get promoted?
Well, I mean, hey, that didn't work out for this chick. I mean, the head of HR was sleeping with the boss, and she got fired instead of promoted.
Welcome to the Make Work Not Suck podcast.
3 seconds. 3 seconds is all it took on a kiss cam for Coldplay to destroy 2 C-level executives' careers and turn a data company that no one's ever heard of into the most Googled, most memed startup on the planet. Ryan, have you seen this? The Coldplay gate?
Is that what we're calling it now? Coldplay gate?
I think I just made that up.
It was very interesting getting this on my news feed while in Japan. I did decipher this on Japanese news sites, but yes, okay, please tell me more.
Maybe the question that's in my mind is this really about inappropriate workplace relationships, or is this just more a reflection of what's going on in society today, where anybody with a phone can become judge, jury, and executioner because they can record you with their cell phone? So interesting question. All right, so here's the story. For those of you who missed it, the Astronomer CEO, Andy Byron, was caught on the Jumbotron at a Coldplay concert, with his arm around the company's chief people officer, Kristin. As if that wasn't bad enough that they ended up on the Jumbotron together, they're each married to different people. They then immediately hid from the camera with the most guilty looking face you could possibly imagine. So much so that I think Chris Martin, the lead singer of Coldplay, says they're either having an affair or they're just really shy. So they literally got called out in front of tens of thousands of people for likely having an affair. And the way that they hid from the camera definitely made it look like it was an affair. Within 72 hours, the CEO had been fired, or they both resigned, I guess. And the company that has raised, I guess, about $93 million is now desperately trying to convince their customers, and I'm sure their investors, that everything's okay and that they're still a leading company in the data ops space.
So I got to tell you, because I was in Japan when this whole thing hit, and not really paying attention to any U.S. media outlets or anything, paying attention to anything going on back home, like in rural Japan, immersed in the culture. And I pop open Facebook and I just start seeing this meme over and over and over and over in my feed. And I'm like, what the hell is going on? Like, what did I miss? What inside joke am I missing that the internet is on this week? And come to find out, this is what it was. And it's, I think there's a couple of components. Like you said, is this being exposed? Mm-hmm. Is this, like this is happening every single day in lots of companies. And
yes,
I think the real question comes down to like, okay, is this right? Is it wrong? Is this like, is it okay for like inside the company, but not at the top of the organization? Is it the fact that we can easily expose it and the internet ridiculed you? There's a lot to unpack here, and wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
There's a lot to talk about here. What's your take? Which is worse, the cover up or the cuddle?
Oh, the cover up or the cuddle? The cover up or the cuddle? I honestly, I think that's just bad luck. Maybe that's what it is. That's just bad luck. Like, you were just publicly exposed. Like,
I'm going to say the cuddle's the bad part. If you were both single and cuddling at a concert, I don't think that's particularly professional, but I could get my head around it. But the fact that you're both married to other people cuddling at a concert, like, you deserve to get exposed. Like, you're cheating on your spouse, you deserve it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think the thing is, if you're going to be stupid enough to do something in public, like, you're asking for it.
Right.
I don't know. Maybe that's why they went to a Coldplay concert as opposed to like, a professional sports game because, they don't have kiss cams at concert. Oops. I guess now they do.
Yes, apparently they do. They've got cuddle cams. And yeah, you can lose your career and lose your marriage over if you end up on the cuddle cam with the wrong person. I like what you said. I mean, I don't like it, but I agree with it that this has been happening for a very long time. Like, this is not new news. I think part of what's interesting is how different generations handle inter-office relationships.
So let me ask you this, because I agree. So here's a question. Is it the fact that they were married, which I guess for some reason I thought she wasn't married and he was, but I guess they both were.
No, they both have families, married with families separate from each other.
Got it. Okay. So is it the fact that they were married, or is it the fact that this was the CEO and the chief people officer? Would we have the same reaction if they were both single?
I think that's a question. I think the other question is if they're peers and they're both, VPs at the same company and they're cuddled up in the corner, but there's not a power differential of one person works for the other. I think that's a lot easier for people to stomach. Yeah. But I think you're talking about two problems here. One is the fact they're both married, and so neither of them should have their arms around each other. And then secondly, the fact that this power struggle of, okay, he's the boss, she works for him, but she's in charge of HR, so she should know better. Well, and I think there's a lot of layers of problems here.
I agree. And it's like, what if it was the CEO and the CFO?
Still gross.
Well, I agree, but what I'm saying is like, would the paradigm change into, or would the story change to they're embezzling money? Like, would it be more about like a money problem more so than a culture HR problem? And I think this just comes down to like, it's the dichotomy of leadership. Like, if you're going to be the CEO of a company, like, these are the risks you take when you make stupid decisions like that.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, all right. So lots of places to go. Let's start with this one. If you look at the CEO, one of the challenges is that you're living in a fishbowl. You can't go anywhere where you are not being recorded. And you can't do anything, good, bad, or ugly, that might not be recorded.
Oh, 1,000%. Yeah, you're on display. You're on stage.
Yes. People know who you are. They know what you do, especially if you're, any sort of a larger company. Maybe if you're running a small business, not so much, but people know who you are, and you're just going to be in the spotlight more. And so you have to live, in my opinion, you got to live at a higher level of integrity, because the things that other people can get away with because they're not in the spotlight, you don't have that luxury because you're in the spotlight.
Oh, and I got a question for you. Whether he officially resigned, or was fired, do you think he should have been fired?
I think he should have been fired. If I was on the board, I would have fired him.
Why? I agree with you. Why?
I think the fact that he's having an affair. Well, all right, let me step back, because I don't.
Affair, or is it the affair? Because what happens if he is having an affair with the chief people officer of a total random other company, or total other stranger? Is it the fact he had an affair, or is it the person because the fact it was a C-level executive at the same company?
Right. I don't like the fact that if I was on a board, I wouldn't like the fact that my CEO is having an affair. Is that a fireable offense? If he's having an affair with some random chick, probably not. I don't like it. I would probably pull him aside and have a conversation about it, but I don't think I would threaten his job with it. But if he's doing it internally with an employee who works for him, that is toxic from a cultural standpoint. It is creating all sorts of weird dynamics. And I've never seen it end well. Like that just, it's a time bomb. It's just a question of when it's going to go off. And I would be proactive and get that dynamic out of the organization as quickly as possible, because it's going to create problems.
I agree. And let me take it to a step further. is,
Okay.
we're all about, making work not suck, right?
Absolutely.
When you are the CEO of a company, you are the top leader. Yes, you may have a board above you, but you are the leader of the organization. And when you do something stupid like this, that sets a bad example for culture. But now, what's the insecurity of the employees? And you loosely mentioned the ramifications, like they're trying to convince their investors and their customers they're still relevant and they got a product and this, that, and the other. You just fired the CEO of the company, and not to say it's completely rudderless. I'm sure someone in the board stepped in and they're doing things, but
They hired Gwyneth Paltrow.
We'll come to that in a second. But you just put a lot of people's jobs at risk, and so that's why I say I agree with it that should be fired, and I think that's part of the dichotomy of leadership. If you're going to be in that role, you've got to realize you're on stage, and stupid things like that have bigger impact than just where you get your personal joy from. I mean, again, the affair apart aside, I think a lot of us would agree that like you should do the right thing. Like that's just being lazy, like get a divorce and do things right. But I think it's that just shows the quality of leader, that like what's the capability of leading the company if you can't manage that correctly?
Yeah, I think there's a huge, it raises huge questions about your decision making. And in the best case scenario, you both had too much to drink and you were just being flirty and there isn't a real affair here, but still that is a bad look. That's a really bad look. And I don't know the actual details. I'm sure there's probably an article somewhere that can tell us exactly about, how bad their affair was. But this is just a bad look. And I think part of what has got to be difficult for leaders today is the fact that they could have gotten away with that 20 years ago because there wasn't cell phones. And even if people saw it, there's rumors, there's gossip, but there's no way to prove it. Now with, kind of a surveillance society where everybody's got a camera, everyone's got a high def camera. You're always on stage. And if you don't realize that and adjust accordingly, it is going to bite you. So don't do anything that you wouldn't want on the front page news.
Well, I think this even goes down. I can't think of a good example off the top of my head, but I know it's happened where like a CEO has belittled like a waitress at a restaurant or something like that. And, that like you said, that could happen before and nobody except for who worked at that restaurant knew about it. But now somebody whips out a cell phone and you see a high powered or multi-billionaire, treating someone like crap. It's all of a sudden on the internet. And what was it? It was for this particular one, it was 22,000 news articles were written within 24 hours. More coverage than what a war gets about a corporate scandal.
Right. But it's not actually illegal, right? I mean, it's not good morally. I think we could have some problems with it, but fooling around with your chief HR person isn't a federal offense.
No,
it's gotten a lot of attention.
No, but I guarantee you, and I don't know, maybe this is a little old school thought here. I guarantee you there was something in their employee handbook that said you can't do that.
Yeah, I'm sure there is.
Which basically says, that's cause. That's cause for termination. So, I mean, I go back down to the leadership side of it. Whether the handbook had it in there or not, if you are a leader, you cannot do things like that. And I think it's really hard. Like, it's hard to be a leader. A lot of people say it's easy. A lot of people say, but I think the thing is, if anybody thinks leadership is easy, they're probably cheating something behind the scenes. Either A, they're not a leader, or B, they're screwing their HR person behind the scenes and faking the leadership part.
I would say maybe a way to frame that is it's hard to be a good leader.
Yes.
There's lots of ways to be a crappy leader. And you can probably carry that on for a long period of time and get away with it. But to be a good leader is a very hard road. So let's talk root causes for a second. I think there's a couple of things going on here. One is just the standards that we have for executives. I think the other side of that surveillance society is the fact that nobody's perfect, right? We're all human. We all have desires. We all have needs. We all have these, and we all have good days. We all have bad days. And if any one of us was watched 24/7, 365, every one of us would have things that we'd be embarrassed to put up on a Jumbotron. So is it fair to these CEOs or to anybody in the spotlight to have their entire life under a microscope?
I mean, yes and no. Yes.
Okay.
No. I think when it comes to your, and maybe this is public versus private, right? Like if people are like standing outside the executive's home with a camera trying to, catch them for something, the paparazzi out there trying to get okay, that's invasion of privacy. But like inside the public view, inside the corporate, the organization, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, again, some of these, small business world, different dynamic, but some of these CEOs are paid, tens of millions of dollars a year. Like you're paid to be a leader of a large organization. You're getting the benefit of ensuring you're doing things right. Mm-hmm. Now, I may be sounding a little harsh here. I mean, people are human. Yes. People will make mistakes. Yes. And I think if like an executive has an outburst in a meeting because of, some anomaly going on in their life, okay, let's like grace, right? Now, if like someone picked up a chair and like beat somebody with it, yeah, don't do that. But I do think there's a dichotomy there where yes, leaders should be held to a higher standard. If you're going to be in the leadership role, you should be held to a higher standard. Should be held to an impossible standard? No. Should be held to a realistic standard? Yes. Mm-hmm. I do think that's part of the job. But I also think we're too quick to throw around the leadership title, and we're too quick to give people leadership roles that either aren't ready for it, don't deserve it, or not really a leader. So I think we've also diluted what it means to be a leader.
Yeah, there's probably a whole episode there of what happens when people's competence outruns their character. We tend to put people in leadership roles that have high degrees of competence, and it's usually their lack of character that bites them in the ass. And the whole organization then pays for the mistake, which is unfortunate. The second thing that I think is going on here is just the whole power imbalance between the boss and the employee. Like that kind of gives me the heebie-jeebies to think about a boss having an affair with one of his direct reports. I think it's one thing when it's, the CEO having an affair with a random individual, but when it's one of your direct reports, I think that makes it worse.
Well, let me ask this. What if it was his executive assistant?
Still bad.
Oh, bad. I agree. But like not another leadership position in the organization.
All right. I'm going levels of badness here. Level 1, CEO having an affair. Level 2, CEO having an affair with an employee. Level 3, CEO having an affair with another leader in the company. And level 4, CEO having an affair with the head of HR. Like, I don't think you can top that one. That's like the worst possible scenario.
And what I think is interesting is, and I'm trying to find the stat here, I think there's been more CEOs that have been fired for relationship means more so than misconduct. Like only 2% of CEOs are actually fired for misconduct. Whereas more CEOs have been involved with like relationship level things that have caused them to step down or step out.
Right.
And so I do think this is I don't know, is this like a level of Hollywood? Because, there's like who's screwing who and who's dating who in Hollywood, and although we love the Hollywood drama, is this just a means of just like taking that like desire for that sucking drama and putting it on more people because technology allows us to broadcast it more?
I do think people love juicy gossip.
Oh yeah.
I have worked for a couple of large organizations where there have been these kinds of dynamics, affairs that were just kind of known open secrets, where people knew that two people were having an affair, but in relationships, committed relationships with other people. And people love to gossip about that. Like it was all the talk at the coffee pot. So I think that is a reflection of our culture. I think one of the real reasons why this happens, though, is because, especially in leadership, people spend so much time at work and so value their contributions to work that they end up developing, emotional connections with their coworkers. And if there's any sort of a sexual attraction there, it just becomes really dangerous for leaders who are spending 50, 60 hours a week in the office with one person. You're spending more time with your head of HR than you are with your spouse. If there's some attraction there, like you're playing with fire, that's just going to be a dangerous situation. And I think to the point of, leaders having to have higher standards, I think the wise leaders will put some boundaries around themselves to keep them from doing something stupid, because there's just a risk there of just the amount of time and emotional energy that's being invested. There's a possibility of some sort of an emotional connection.
Well, I mean, we've said it time and time again on the podcast, right? We spend, loosely 1/3 of our life sleeping, 1/3 of our lives working, and 1/3 of our lives doing everything else.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if that everything else is, families, friends, kids, birthdays, alone time, et cetera, like you do spend more time with the people you work with than most of the time your friends and family, et cetera. And of course, when the 1/3 of that's family and friends and whatnot is not going well,
sure,
we tend to cling to one or the other. If the family side's not going well, then we rely on work. I cannot tell you how many conversations I've had over the years, I'm sure you have too, where somebody's having a shit show in their personal life. And what do? They double down on work. They're working longer hours. They're taking on more projects. They're hanging out with their coworkers more. So it's just bound. It's going to happen. And again, I don't know what the stats are, but I guarantee you, yes, this one got called out. But there's probably millions of these happening in America alone. And
right.
I mean, I'm sure it's happening in every working country around the world.
And I think it's been happening for generations, right? Like I'm sure it's not a new thing.
I'm sure you go back far enough, there's where like, the boss could mandate this, and you go back to like 1700 and, the guy wanted to do what he wanted, and because he was the Lord, he got away with it. So, I mean, at one point it was, quote unquote legal, and it was policy to do that.
Yes. And some people call those the good old days.
I don't know anybody that calls the 1700s the good old days.
It was good if you were at the top of the food chain, I'm sure. But even you look at like Mad Men and shows like that, where there was just, wildly inappropriate things happening at the office. I do think that it has been happening all along. I think that the rise of technology and, everyone's got a camera, surveillance, I think that changes the dynamic. But I also think that generations have different views on this. Baby boomers kind of invented the idea of your work wife, right? But it was always hush hush, right? We never talked about it. It was just kind of a look away, wink, and move along.
Well, I gotta ask. So there's the boomers may have invented it, but I think the thing is the boomers were also around before the technology to get caught. So
True.
It was a lot easy. I mean, it goes back down to, and I remember doing this seminar for kids. Like think about it. The whole issue with like teens sending naked photos of each other back and forth, right? It's easy. Yep.
Oh, sure.
We weren't above it when we were kids, but think about it. We had to take a picture with a disposable camera, take it down to, Walmart, CVS, Walgreens, Eckerd's, if anybody remembers that place, get it developed, hope that the person developing the film didn't tell your parents, and then you can actually pass the photo. Like, it was an effort.
Then you had to go pick up those photos and look that person in the eye and say, yes, these are mine. I will pay for these. That was humiliating.
It's not that we weren't above it. It was just difficult to do it. So we just did other things. Right. And so I think with the boomers that, like, again, it was a culture thing, but I got this in the notes, and now I'm going to date myself. The boomers, what was this? Built their entire careers on plausible deniability and 3 martini lunches. What the heck is that? What is the 3 martini lunch?
Have you never had a 3 martini lunch?
No. What is a 3 martini lunch?
I'm guessing it's just a lunch where you get trashed. 3 martinis is going to put you in a pretty bad spot.
Is it basically you just drink 3 martinis and then you just have plausible deniability because you were drunk? So if you end up sleeping with the person, then plausible deniability. I had 3 martinis. I didn't know what I was doing.
Yeah. Or I don't remember.
Well, the spicy take is boomers are hypocrites. They did all this stuff. They just didn't have Instagram to catch them. Let's be real.
I agree. Gen X, I'll be the spokesperson for Gen X. Here's the generational representative. We've learned to hide the workplace romances, more so than any generation. 86% of Gen X employees hide their workplace relationships. We learned from the boomers that you had to keep it secret, but we also grew up in the surveillance culture. So we've kind of adopted this don't ask, don't tell, offline romance. You've got to think about what technology you're using, what you're not doing. Don't flirt over Teams because HR can track that. But I think that's more of the Gen X approach to office relationships. What about millennials? You're our millennial spokesperson.
Oh man, we brought in work-life balance.
Nice.
So not just the working part of work-life balance, but we brought our life into the work of work-life balance.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, was it 33% of millennials are open to office romance? What? But I think that's because it's such a because it's such a blended part, right? Like, we've learned to blend our work and our life together, that it's become a more acceptable component. Now, we're not saying it's okay to have affairs and sleep with employees like that, but I think in general, I think the generation is just more open to the balance that even the romance brings into the work-life balance. But I mean, millennials, we want transparency, but there's also boundaries.
Yeah, like, you guys want to date coworkers, but you want HR to protect you when it goes sideways.
Well, yes.
Yeah.
But I mean,
you want HR to break up with them for you?
Well, no, no, that's probably like Gen Z or Gen Alpha. They're probably those ones that. But I think in the millennials, we want to know the HR policies so that we can ensure, like, are we actually bending the rules here? Like, can we modify the HR policies to allow me to have this romance, but not break the HR policy to get fired? So we're just going to advocate change to the policy that allows it. But, we still want to be protected by the overall HR policy. Let's be real.
Right. And then Gen Zs, I guess they just don't care about the rules at all.
No, they're just creating their own rules. Like, they're just totally on their own brainwave.
Right. It says here 45% of Gen Zs have had physical relationships with coworkers, including bosses. Wow.
Not surprised. Wow. You know what I've also noticed with these, and I think it started with especially the younger millennials, not so much the older millennials, but there's that whole stigma of, like, the separation of male and female, and not room together, and you don't message your boss, and you just keep it, like you said, with the Gen X, it was like, it's completely separated.
Mm-hmm.
I think with what we're seeing with like, especially the Gen Zs, and I'm seeing it with the Gen Alpha and the early working stages. There's like no boundary at all.
Right.
It's just like there are, and I don't know if the dynamic has changed. And I know you and I are a little more older school in this sense of like, if you're a married man, you're never alone with a, woman in a room. You always have another person in the room with you. Just, it's all plausible deniability. It's just good practice in general. Whereas I think the Gen Zs are like, so what? We're just two humans. We're cool.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's just like that whole separation of it is just completely obliterated.
Yeah. Which I don't think is going to be a great thing. Some of that I think is also though a function of age. Like when I was young and in my career, like before my career started, waiting tables, like everybody is fooling around with everybody in that kind of a context. And so if you're still really young in your career, I'm not surprised that 45% have had a physical relationship with coworkers. I do think the difference is how you handle it, right? Gen X tends to want to hide it. Gen Zs, I think, are really open about it. I think only about 50% of them have tried to hide it. The rest of them just don't care if you know or not.
Are you saying Gen Zs are basically swingers, Daniel? Are they just open to everything, that they're just kind of swinging? It doesn't matter. We work together. We sleep together.
How else are you going to get promoted?
Well, I mean, hey, that didn't work out for this chick. I mean, the head of HR was sleeping with the boss and she got fired instead of promoted.
You don't know how she got her job.
That is very true. Very true.
Yes. Maybe that's how she got there in the first place. Yeah, I've seen that actually. 10% of Gen Zs say that workplace romances have led to promotions. Dating as career strategy.
I don't know. You see the way the Gen Zs dress these days. I mean, it doesn't surprise me in the slightest. I'm making myself sound old here.
Yeah, you are. You're a grizzled old man at this point. Who gets it right? And you can't just say millennials because you're a millennial. Which generation handles this appropriately?
I can't believe I'm going to say this.
Mm-hmm.
I actually think Gen Z maybe doesn't get it right, but I think they are a more evolved form. And I think between boomers, X, and millennials, there's a lot of like boomer baggage. And I think the Zs are just it's like the world has advanced so much between the millennial generation to Z that I think they're just on a more evolved plane than the legacy of society. So I don't know if it's so much that they get it right or more just circumstantially because of the buffer created with the millennial generation in technology.
I think they're more in line with how reality is, but I think that contributes to making work suck.
Interesting. Say more.
Because I have been in meetings where there's awkward tension between two people because they've got some sort of a situationship relationally and romantically, but now we're having to work together and make some hard decisions. And there's this like awkward thing in the room. And I know they're sleeping together. They don't know that I know that they're sleeping together. And I can't get anything done because it's just too awkward. And I would rather be ignorant in that moment. And, they're keeping a secret than for it to be something that everybody knows and we're all having to dance around, but we can't talk about.
What kind of organization you running there, Daniel?
I didn't say I was running it, but I have been in that situation.
I have gone into a room once and go, okay, that person's sleeping with that person. We all know it. And we move on, please.
How'd that go for you?
Actually, well, after the awkwardness of it, kind of just like, look, we know about it. Like, it's not going to be in the way of, is it going to be in the way of work? No. Is it going to be in the way of work? No. Okay. You both agreed.
Right.
Everybody heard it. Let's stop the gossip. Let's stop the BS. Can we get back to work, please?
Right.
I know it's a little blunt and bullish, but I don't know. It worked in the.
Maybe that's what I should have done. Maybe that's how I should have handled it. I have just found that really uncomfortable and difficult for people to work around when there's that kind of sexual dynamic within a team. And especially if there's unwanted sexual dynamics, that creates a lot of problems. And so I think that, I don't know if I would side with the Gen Z on that one. I think I would rather move more towards the Gen X, not totally to the boomers. So like we completely pretend it's not happening, but at least like keep it separate, right? Like if y'all are going to do that outside of work, do that outside of work, but don't bring that into the office.
I think definitely like, don't be having sex on the desk in the middle of the room with everybody. Like,
right.
Actually,
okay. But what about team building events? You go out to team building events, people have a couple of drinks, and now they're getting all handsy. It's like, okay, but this is still a work event. Like I'm fine with having a drink or two, but that doesn't mean you get to, make out with your coworker.
Well, I think in those scenarios, like that's just you shouldn't be doing that in general. Like, show up to the work event, do the work stuff, and then go do that outside. Like that's just stupid. That's
I think that's happening.
Well, I think that's happened with. Have you ever been to trade shows? Like, this has been the trade show culture for. Every industry I've been in. It shows up and everybody sleeps with each other, and then they all sell leads back and forth to each other. Then they go home to their respective, families or whatever they've got. You want to talk about another one is, the number of salespeople that are sleeping with people at trade shows just to get business, but that's a total different topic.
That's a different episode.
That I've had to probably deal with more than I've ever wanted to admit, but it does close deals. I am not advocating for it. I am not advocating for it. I am not pro that. But team building events. That I've had the opposite side of it. I don't think I've ever had issues. Don't get me wrong. I've had to say people like, "Hey, I know you two are dating." Like, I've had to tell people, like, "Don't be stupid in this event. Like, don't make me fire you." And I think maybe just being preemptive about it has helped in the past, where it's like, don't give me a reason to fire you. Like, you've been warned, and then usually people are good. I think the other one that I've had to deal with that is infuriating is where like one person's trying to sleep with the other, but that person doesn't want to be slept with that person. And like that is extremely awkward, especially when they don't back off and they're using work as the means to go after it.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes work suck.
Yes.
Especially for the person who's being pursued, but it also makes work suck for everybody else around it because it's just not appropriate.
Yeah, I think, I'd probably say only 30% of the time have I had to fire somebody because of it. Like, I've actually had to like, okay, this is harassment, HR, like we got to deal with this. I think 70% of the time it fell into the category of like reassigning a department or addressing it, and then it just fizzled out on its own.
Yeah,
man, humans are stupid, and we do a lot of dumb things.
So what would have happened if the CEO of this company had just been born in a different generation? Right? What was his name again? Andy Byron. The Astronomer CEO. Maybe he was just born at the wrong time, right? Maybe.
Oh, if he would have been born, if this would have been instead of 2025, it was 1965. Yeah, he would have got away with it. he'd still be banging her.
Yeah. I think at his age, though, trying to hide it just makes you look guilty.
Yeah.
Honestly, if he just stood there with his arms around her and just been like, woo, the camera would have panned to the next couple. No one would know. No one would say anything. And he would have gotten away with it. I'm not saying it's a good thing, but I'm saying nobody would have thought anything about that. The only reason they got caught is because they both reacted with extremely guilty faces and tried to hide from the camera.
So what you're saying is just admit yourself of all guilt and all shame and just lean into it and
just own it.
And just own it, and it'll all be all right.
No, that is not what I am saying. But that is probably the Gen Z mantra would be, hey, the only reason it's only wrong if you look guilty. So just don't look guilty.
Wrong if you look guilty. Okay. Yeah. I want to see how you handle your kids with that one.
No, that is the exact opposite of what I teach my kids. No, that is wrong because it's wrong, whether you feel guilty about it or not. Let's take vision, journey, culture, results, and try to figure out how we make this not suck. Companies want good leaders. They want authentic leaders, but they don't really give authentic leaders a lot of space or grace to be humans. You can't lock a bunch of people into an office for 60 hours a week, put them under extreme pressure, and then be shocked when romance starts to happen. But you also can't allow that and still expect to be a productive organization. So what does it look like to actually have values that guide the organization?
Ooh, well, yeah, the values were definitely not being exhibited on that recording or that camera at that concert. But I mean, I think the board fixed that one real fast by letting the two toxic cultured individuals go. I mean, I
would challenge you on that one. I think the fact that other people saw this, like other employees in the box suite, were there and not saying anything about it. I think that's a culture failure. In healthy cultures, they should be held accountable to that. Somebody should have said, "Hey, y'all, get a room. You're both married. If you choose to do this, at least do it someplace else."
So I agree to the extent if we knew who the individual was. If that was an executive assistant and was threatened to, you're going to lose your job, or I'm going to, if there was some sort of potential threat, and especially since, she can't go to HR. HR is compromised.
Yes.
So, and probably doesn't have the autonomy to go to a board to do that. So I think they created a negative culture. I agree. The real question is following that event, the board fired the two of them. The people that come in after that have the opportunity to rebuild and set the culture and hold it. Now, they're going to have an uphill battle because that could instantly cascade into negative culture within the business, within the organization. And like, well, frick, if they can do it, then we can do it. But if the board brought in someone, a good leader in right behind it and set the precedent and maintain the culture, I mean, that's key.
Right.
And I think the board set the example by holding the company's values and terminating the two individuals.
Brian, we've talked many times about vision, journey, culture, results, and how there can be the stated vision, journey, culture, results, and then the actual vision, journey, culture, results. I think that some of what's going on here is that gap between what we say and what actually happens. And in an organization that says they value things like respect and, zero tolerance for sexual harassment and those kinds of things, but then the CEO and the head of HR are sleeping together, you've clearly got this gap between what we say we believe and what we actually believe. So what does that do to an organization when there's a big visible gap between what we say we believe and what we actually believe? Like, how does that impact the vision, journey, culture, results?
Well, it's the house of cards. I mean, we've all worked in companies like this where the core values are up on the wall and the culture is toxic as hell. I mean, that's
right.
Yeah, I hate to say it, that's becoming more and more companies these days. As I don't know why we're getting there, but I mean, that's the crux of. I mean, that's why you and I are in business.
Right. It's because this is hard, and just about everybody to some extent is misaligned with themselves.
Well, and I think sometimes what people try to do to fix it is then they bring in a CEO that just drives for results and maybe might be a smooth talker and put some good things out there, but then encourages more toxic culture to hit performance metrics. But then the company just gets more and more toxic and more toxic. And I think honestly, what that really makes hard is like a good leader that's trying to do things right. It almost makes them look wrong or like they're not a fit because they're actually trying to adjust the culture. One of the hardest things to do in a business is adjust the culture, course correct the culture.
Yeah.
It's easy to charge more. It's easy to change SOPs. It's easy to change systems. It's easy to hire and fire people. It's hard to change the culture. And a good leader will do the right things, go through the journey to get there. A bad leader will just push for results.
I find the hardest part of changing culture is being honest about what the culture really is. Like if we can't be honest about what our culture really is, there's zero chance we're going to change it for the better.
Oh, you are absolutely correct. And I think there's a level of, there are people that can be honest about the culture in a respectful manner. But when people don't want to listen to it or don't believe it, or then you start getting the silos, politics, and turf wars of, well, that person's just wrong, or you're just wrong because, or if you cannot get everybody aligned on the same page of the problems, I mean, it's ego. When ego gets in the way, it's going to just implode.
Yeah.
Plain and simple.
Yeah. And so the vision really becomes just lip service, right? Because we say we're here for this thing, but everybody knows that that's not really the thing we're here for. We're here for something else, and it's probably to make money. Let's figure out how to fix it. Without giving advice, what would you change to prevent this kind of disaster in another company? I think we need to get away from boomer policies. I think
that's giving advice, Daniel.
All right. I'm going to give advice then.
I mean, I'm struggling with this one because I think if it's what you can and cannot control, what you can and cannot live with. So if you're in a position of power and leadership and you can control it, then change it, do something about it. If you can't, but you're willing to live with it, then just go on about your day. Like, it is what it is. If you can't live with it, you have the freedom to choose who leads you. Find a better organization to work with. I know that's simpler said than done, but I think there's a level of like good and evil exist in the world. The only thing you can do is control your environment.
Right.
And if you're in a leadership position, improve it. You are a leader.
So what about organizational surveillance? Are you running all comms through an AI engine looking for sexual harassment?
Man, that just sounds like such a can of worms.
Oh, it does. But I mean, it's possible you could do it.
I guess maybe I believe in humans a little more than that. Like I'm all for using tools and I'm all for advancing things, but like running conversations through AI filters to look for that just sounds like you might as well just put a camera in front of every employee and record all their keystrokes because you just don't trust anybody can do anything. I mean, that I don't know. I guess I have more faith in humanity than that.
You've never waited tables then, have you?
I mean, I don't know. Maybe because I'm a guy and not a girl, I got a different problem with that one. But
I'm just saying exposure to Gen Pop and, the general population will change your expectations of humanity.
I choose to believe humanity is better than that.
Hey, I like that. Good choice.
Don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. If you run a wide level stat, like 8% of the world is evil. And, we always know there's one person that ruins it for everybody. Don't get me wrong, that there is crap out there, but I just choose to believe that there's more good than bad. And I think there's too many people stuck in the middle. Yeah. So from a work perspective, I think you are in control of who leads you. Unless you're the leader, then it's your duty to fix it.
What about the whole idea of corporate surveillance boundaries, right? A little off topic, but if I post something horribly offensive on Twitter or X, whatever it's called now, and I'm a leader at a company, does it matter what I say on social media if I didn't say it at work? I think that's one of the more tricky angles of this is if he hadn't gotten caught. So basically, it's just what he does in his private life.
You're basically asking me what we should do with Elon Musk.
Yeah.
You're right. It's a very tricky topic because is that work or is that, professional or personal, you're off the clock, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
I think that comes back down to, again, your position. If you are the CEO of the organization, you are a public facing entity of the organization and you are on the clock in what you say. Like if you have the need to say something like that, like do it in a personal, private community, lock your Facebook down to only your friends and family and nobody else can see it. And if somebody else spreads it, that's a different thing. But if you're just the average everyday employee and you're talking about how work sucks, like that's just life.
Yeah.
So, I mean, again, if you're a leader and top of the organization, you're on stage.
Yeah. And I think the closer you get to the top of the organization, the closer you are to the stage. So if you this is your first job out of school, people probably are not paying attention to, what you say online and how it affects your job. Unless you're publicly trashing your employer. And then that's a different conversation.
Well, I'll get into another one. Well, there's a couple of them. If you don't like being in that spotlight, then don't be the leader. Like that's part of the responsibility that comes with it. So yes. If you don't want it, don't do it. The other thing too is, and this one's driving me insane a little bit more recently, is recruiters and HR teams looking at the social profiles of the candidates to determine their worthiness. And it's like, oh, this person drinks too much on the weekends. We can't hire them. That has nothing to do with their performance. Call their previous employers, get their references. And if their reference says, yeah, they showed up drunk every Monday or they called in sick every Monday, okay, don't hire them.
Right.
But don't judge somebody by what their, Facebook feed looks like, which is why so many people have like locked their Facebook feeds to, friends and family only and private accounts and this, that, and the other. So I think we've taken some of this to extremes and creating more divide than we should.
Yeah. I think private lives are becoming more public. That is the reality. I don't see it, despite everyone's efforts to the contrary. I don't think that's going to reverse or move in the opposite direction. I think those things are going to become more public. And so to some extent, I think the Gen Zs have an advantage on, Gen X and boomers is because they're a lot more honest about those things as opposed to trying to hide them and cover them up. So where are we going? Are we heading towards completely sterile workplaces where no one's allowed to be honest about their humanity? Or are we turning work into a swingers party? What do you think, Ryan?
I'm sorry, I just can't give hats to the fact that you said, are we turning work into a swingers party? Oh, dear Lord. Help us all. I think the answer is somewhere in the middle, Bob.
So maybe the real question here isn't whether or not workplace relationships are appropriate or not. Maybe it's more about whether or not we want to live in a world where 3 seconds on a Jumbotron can destroy your entire career.
I think 3 seconds on a Jumbotron should destroy your career if you are a false leader.
Ooh.
I think if there was nothing wrong with what they were doing, then this wouldn't be an issue. And that's the crux of it all. It's not the fact the relationship, it's the fact it was two senior leaders doing something that broke the moral code of their company and their values.
And their own personal values, because that's why they hid their faces.
And at the end of the day, again, handful of people ruining it for others. The best we can do is to make work not suck. Is if you are in a position of leadership, hold yourself accountable to it and make work not suck for those you lead. And if you are in a workplace and work sucks, you have the right to find a better workplace.
Make work not suck. Our podcast that talks about exactly that. Our process, vision, journey, culture, and results. We present real-world business solutions that make the difference. Our goal is to make work not suck. Hosted by Ryan Hodges, co-host Daniel Steer. Join us each episode and make work not suck.